Welcome back to talkSPORT's dedicated US sports and NFL YouTube channel. I'm Gavin. I have the brilliant Brian T. Smith with me. The NFL season is days away at this point, basically. We're almost finished with preseason football. And so, as is tradition, Brian, we need to kick off the season by making ourselves look as silly as possible by predicting division winners, playoff teams, Super Bowl picks.
By getting everything wrong.
The whole rigmarole.
Let's start 2025 by getting everything wrong, Will.
I mean, listen, I had the Jags and Bengals in an AFC title game last season.
I was going to take the high road. I was not going to bring that up, that you had the Jags to win the Super Bowl or something like that.
Not quite there, but I had them go to the AFC title game. So look, I'm saying early doors. We could be wrong about some of this stuff, but
we will be wrong.
I'm feeling good about this year. I truly am. Look, before we do that though, the Jags are coming back to London this year. Obviously, one of 3 London games, and I would say Jags-Rams on paper probably the best of those 3 games as well. And talkSPORT are currently running an amazing competition to win VIP tickets. You and 5 friends in a box at Wembley, food, drink, everything laid on. We're going to try and get some team legends to come up and visit you as well, like the whole rigmarole. What we'll do is at the end of this video, save me doing it all now, we're going to give you all the terms and conditions, how you can enter that. So if you're just here for the competition, skip to the end, but if not, stick around, and at the end I'll tell you how you can enter that amazing competition. We're going to start with the AFC, and let's go division by division.
Let's do it.
And let's tick off the ones that I think we're going to have an easy consensus on. So your AFC East pick,
Miami Dolphins. I mean, how could I not pick, Will, the Miami Dolphins with all their chemistry, the teamwork, the self-sacrifice? Mike McDaniel just has a culture monster. No. I spent some time working on this morning, last night, thinking about it. It's good to be back with you. We did this all last year. We have changes coming. There's a lot we're going to announce, hopefully in the near future. I hate chalk picks. I hate, but I look at the AFC East, and this is a perfect example. This is a perfect place to start, Will. How do I not pick the Buffalo Bills to win the AFC East? Josh Allen, the reigning MVP. Josh Allen, newly married. You know, they bring back the one contract question mark they really had. They bring back, Cook as the running back. You have a team that's still hungry, that's playoff tested, that's fallen short. Everything you need to repeat is there. It would take something absolutely catastrophic, Will, not for me to pick the Bills. So I try not to do chalk, and we should have fun with this, and we're going to be wrong. But I also have to be realistic and do my job as a senior, U.S. sports reporter for talkSPORT.com, and we have all this covered at talkSPORT.com. I have to pick the Buffalo Bills to win the AFC East.
I feel like with the AFC, we're going to be going for a lot of early chalk picks. Maybe the wild cards be a bit more interesting, but from a Bills perspective, look, I like the majority of what they did this year. You know, extending Josh Allen, extending Khalil Shakir, who is a kind of volume number 1 receiver, if he's not the kind of stereotypical number 1 guy. I think Josh Palmer gives them that field stretching that they were desperately looking for. And look, they took shots on the defensive line. When you're always picking in the kind of high 20s, early 30s, it's very difficult to get yourself an Abdul Carter level, like keystone pass rusher, right? So they just went, let's Larry Ogunjobi, Michael Hoyt, who aren't going to be playing for like the first 6 games of the season. Let's see if Joey Bosa's still got anything in him. Like, they just went, it's clearly that pass rush is the area of concern for us when we come up against the best teams.
Smaller defense. So, we heard about that a lot last year,
Let's throw stuff at a wall and see what sticks. I think they like a lot of the top teams we're going to talk about here, you would be stunned if they weren't in at least the divisional round game this year, right? And
the Buffalo Bills, unless Josh Allen is out for the season, the Buffalo Bills are making the playoffs. I mean, it's impossible to think otherwise, just because I don't, and we'll get into this later, but I look at the rest of the AFC East, and I know you were a huge Drake May person last year. You might have been ahead of the curve on that. Now everybody's big on Drake May. Miami has serious issues. The New York Jets, I'm sorry, Will, I can't pick the New York Jets to win the AFC East.
At the end, we're going to do a team from outside our playoff picks, so we think might surprise everyone. And one of those teams I do have in mind for that. But let's be honest, not challenging the division. Equally, AFC West looks like one of the potentially strongest divisions in football, and yet I find it very difficult.
My phone's kind of burning right now. Hold on, because I want to have some fun this year. Last year, I was straight. I was critical and analytical, but I was straight. I'm gonna be a little more wild and fun this year because this is my 3rd season in the United Kingdom as an expat. Can I give you my AFC West pick right now?
Go on.
I'm gonna I'm doing it, Will.
You're burning it down.
The Kansas City Chiefs are not winning the AFC West.
Woo-hoo-hoo! Here we go.
I tell you, let's have fun in 2025. No, but I'm serious about this. And it's not going to be the Chargers. Sorry, other Harbaugh, the second best Harbaugh coach. Denver Broncos. Denver Broncos with Sean Payton and Bo Nix. I like the defense. I like the offense. Everything says Chiefs revenge tour and all this stuff. I just look at the Chiefs and I look at the wide receiver and I look at the defense and I look at the age and I look at Kelsey and they feel like they're in decline, and I may regret this. We may end up playing this back in the Super Bowl at Levi's Stadium, and I regret this. But if I had to make an analytical straight pick and still have fun on talkSPORT at talkSPORT.com, I am picking the Denver Broncos to win the AFC West.
There is a absolute world where the Denver Broncos have the best defense in football this year. And actually, you'd probably argue, since the Broncos won the Super Bowl at Super Bowl 50 10 years ago, the old adage of defense wins championships. I can't remember the last team that won a Super Bowl without at least having... You can argue maybe the Patriots, but they still had Brady, Gronk. Yes. They held the Rams.
We were both in New Orleans
but...
at the Superdome. The Eagles' offense was really, really good. The Eagles' defense was amazing. It was a combo factor, but it's not like it was just defense and they had this horrible offense. The Eagles' offense was pretty darn good last year.
I think that Broncos no-fly zone is probably the last defense that won a championship in that manner, right? There is a bit of me that wants to believe that can happen again this year. Like Vance Joseph proving it after his struggles there as a head coach, the talent that they've brought in, and like there are injury concerns, right? The two guys they brought in from San Francisco, and Dre Greenlaw, Talanoa Hufanga, they're both all pro-level players. They've won all pros in their career, but both have injury concerns. If they are 80-90% of what they were at their best in San Francisco, you've just added two phenomenal pieces to your defense for very little. And they were very good last year. I love their pass rush. I think the reason I love the Broncos more than anything else, though, is like, I hate that they didn't add a wide receiver or more pass-catching talent for Bo Nix, but Sean Payton, I think, came last season, when he came in and had to deal with Russell Wilson and all of that first year. For me, there was a big question mark, right? Sean Payton, should he be talked about in terms of those great coaches of the last two decades?
Had Sean Payton lost it? That was a fair question.
And I think last season he had one of his best coaching performances of his entire career.
They made the playoffs with Bo Nix and Sean Payton was ahead of the world in believing in Bo. Nobody was sitting around being like, they were saying Bo Nix was a first-round pick. Nobody was sitting around, and Bo Nix, franchise quarterback, he's going to lead his team to the play, on and on, except for Sean Payton. I feel like Sean Payton's hot right now. Bo Nix has a year under his belt. The king has to go down at some time, Will.
If RJ Harvey, as much as he's a banger, the second round rookie they brought in can be as good as they're claiming he is out of camp, and I know we're in hope season and everyone says that, but you just... I'm kind of with you.
But who are you picking? Right. Don't let me sway you. Who are you picking?
So here's the thing, right? They were one of my wildcard picks, absolutely. They were in as the 5th seed for me. For the Chiefs, it's this thing of, right, they go out and they sign Jalen Moore at left tackle for way too much money, massively overpay a guy who's had 3 starts in the NFL because they're just desperate for average play at that position. They're going to kick Kingsley Suamataia inside their high draft pick from the year before, and you're looking at it and you're going, I don't think that's going to fix it. I think Mahomes is going to be harried again. Yeah. And then they have this kind of like, we see it happen with Howie Roseman all the time. You see these guys drop into teams' laps, and rookie left tackle Josh Simmons, who might have been the best tackle in the draft, tumbles all the way down to pick 31 because of injury concerns. And by the time we get to training camp, he's fine. There's nothing wrong with him whatsoever. He's out there. He's looking sensational in preseason games. And it might turn out they've now got themselves one of the best tackles to come out of the draft in years. And if they have fixed that offensive line to an extent,
then they're fine.
And if Rashee Rice, who we're going to see play the first 4 games of the season, that suspension is only 4 or 5, 6 games. Their pass-catching unit looks much better. And they've got Patrick Mahomes. And they've still got Travis Kelce, even if he was in a bit of decline last year. And they've still got, most importantly, all of that coaching staff there. Spags on the defensive side.
Defense, what defense can get you? I mean, it's not a great defense. It's a good enough defense with a great defensive coordinator. Like, the Kansas City Chiefs should win the AFC West. They might be back in the Super Bowl at Santa Clara. But we're doing predictions. And if I'm predicting and I'm watching the line graphs go, Broncos up this way, theoretically. Chiefs.
A little bit. Just a little bit.
Just a little. I'll gladly be wrong. I'll gladly be wrong.
I really want to agree with you. And generally, I'm someone who likes to be ahead of the curve on these things. But I think it's going to have to be with the Chiefs. I need to see it happen before I believe that they are in any way in a full-blown decline.
Let's just do it. Is this Travis Kelce's last year? Because we did this all last year.
No.
Is this his final year?
No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it again. It might be his last year. Who knows? Yeah, I think Taylor Swift makes that decision now based on the video they did the other day, which was sensational, by the way. Okay, AFC, I thought that was going to be a chalk pick. I like that it wasn't. Have you got anyone in the AFC North challenging the Baltimore Ravens for that top pick?
I do. This is why I'm here, Will. This is your U.S. sports expert, living in London for 3 years now, seeing it both.
So he's completely lost his mind, is what I'm hearing.
Seeing it both ways, being very analytical, very realistic, but also, I've spent 3 years dealing with London. I've gotten a little gritty, a little edgy. Yeah. The Ravens are a wild card team this year. There's only one team winning the AFC North.
I can't buy into this. No,
I'm serious. It's the Bengals. It's the Bengals.
They did nothing on that defense to make me think that it was going to be even a mid-level unit. And yes, okay, you've got the one of the best offenses in the NFL. You somehow managed to go 8-9 despite the fact that your defense was 31st in almost every metric that was humanly possible. And you've still not paid and locked down Trey Hendrickson. And rumours coming out today that they might have come out of Hendrickson's camp, but the trade is still on the block.
I will change my pick. If Trey Hendrickson is not with the Bengals for week 1, and that very well could happen, I will change my pick, because then you're right. Who do they have on defense? I would like to think that if you have Joe Burrow as your quarterback and Jamar Chase as your wide receiver, and you bring back T. Higgins, like if they didn't want to compete, they wouldn't have brought back T. Higgins. You have one of the best wide receiving cores in the NFL. You have the best, for my money last year, the best quarterback was Joe Burrow. Wasn't going to win the MVP. That was going to go to Josh Allen. Probably should have gone to Lamar Jackson. We talked about it all last year. Joe Burrow, you watch that quarterback documentary on Netflix.
He played at an MVP level.
Insane last year.
He would have won MVP 5 out of the last 6 or 7 years.
Statistically one of the best years in NFL history. If the defense is just a little better and they make adjustments and they don't start 0-17 again, the Ravens are going to come down. The Ravens were incredible last year. They'll come back down to earth a little. I'm having fun this year. I'm picking the Cincinnati Bengals to win that division. But
I don't think any Bengals fans are going to tell you that it's fun rooting for the Bengals, mate.
No, but I think there will be 3 teams out of that division to make the playoffs as well.
Wow. All right, we'll get into our wild card picks.
That is a loaded division.
I really like the Dylan Fairchild pickup on the offense as well, and obviously I like the re-signings, but it's just the faffing around on that defense. They basically made this decision, right? They just went, Lou Anarumo's the reason we're not good on defense. Nothing to do with our talent, nothing to do with the investment, nothing to do with the way we've spent money or anything else. We've got a guy who doesn't develop young talent well as much as he's a brilliant schemer. So they go and get Al Golden and they're like, right, we're fixed now. And I just don't buy that at all. If they were serious about it, they would have signed Trey Hendrickson back in May.
Yep.
And Shamar Stewart, they wouldn't have tried to work this grody new language into his contract to make all rookies, because it will now be the standard going forwards if they'd got away with that. And so a guy who we knew was raw and you needed developing and needed every snap he could possibly get, you kept out of camp for 4 or 5 weeks because you couldn't get him signed and done. It was just all so messy on that side of the ball that I can't buy into that they can just be carried. I have to say, I have got them as a wildcard team. Again, Bengals and Broncos, there you go. I've given it away. Those are 2 of my wildcard teams. Because the offense is so good, and I refuse to not back them. And I really, really hope that for Joe Burrow's sake, they can go on and prove it. But I love the Baltimore Ravens this year. I really love the Baltimore Ravens this year. And
do you love Lamar Jackson in the playoffs?
I love Lamar Jackson in the playoffs.
This is why we do this show, because we like to also agree and totally disagree. We'll save that for later, though.
Listen,
because we're just talking about making the playoffs right now. We have a few months before we get into playoff predictions.
Getting Ronnie Stanley re-signed, which when the best left tackle on the market was Dan Moore, was absolutely massive for them. Mike Green, for everything that I dislike about the off the field stuff, and the Ravens are one of those organizations who like to tell you that they're a very family forward, very all about the culture and everything else, and then they sign players like Mike Green. But reports out of camp is on the field very, very impressive, and that's what we're talking about here. I I'm not just saying for the Ravens that this is the year that they're going to keep winning the AFC North. They're going to keep playing at that level. For me, this is the year they get over the line. And I'm going early with this. They're my AFC pick to go to the Super Bowl.
Wow.
And I've been on that for a couple of months now. I really talked myself into it after the draft. And I'm like, right, I think that's locked in for me. Still haven't picked in the NFC. I'm going to do it on the show in about 20 minutes' time. I'm going to just go, them. But yeah, I really like the Ravens this year. I think year 2 of that defense, after they were so much better in the second half of last season and really made adjustments and really improved, and they've gone out and picked up secondary pieces which they desperately needed. Year 3 in that offense as well that have proven to really start to meld with Lamar Jackson. It feels like all of the coaching has come together perfectly. It kind of feels like this has to be the Ravens year.
Lamar's going to win. He's going to win a Super Bowl. If
they can't do it this year,
right,
then I'm like, then suddenly your coordinators are going to start getting picked up for head coaching jobs, and you're going to have to start paying guys who are right now on cheap contracts.
They move on for Harbaugh. I mean, you're not going to even he's good. You're not going to stick by your head coach forever if you have that talent at quarterback, and you're not getting it done in the end.
Yeah. So
all right, we got one more division.
I'm going with it. I think we are chalk on this one. I know we are on this one, but I did have a tough time picking the Houston Texans.
I did too, but not for the reason that you say. But keep going.
I just think that the Houston Texans, we talked about with the Broncos, potentially the best defense in the NFL. Right now, it's the Houston Texans, and you have to prove differently to me. From a talent perspective, they have key talent at all the key positions, particularly with the scheme D'Amico Ryans plays. They are set up perfectly. They've got, in a league where no one has a cornerback 2 right now, every depth chart you look at, you go, could do with more corners. They've got 2 number 1 corners either side of the field.
How great, and I covered the draft when they drafted Derek Stingley when I was in Houston, and that was a pick I didn't question it. I like Derek Stingley, but he was coming off injuries. He had some issues. It was viewed at the time as being a risky pick. That just was a brilliant pick during a very tough time for the organization by Nick Caserio and that organization. And then, as much as we talk about, we're going to get into him in a second, CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, but clearly, it was getting Will Anderson and setting that defense that has really made the difference for that team, that franchise, the fan base, what they have now in Energy Stadium. I mean, that's what the Texans used to be. Like when the Texans were really good, never great, but really good for a few years. It was a good offense, never the greatest offense in the NFL. It was a defense that really set the tone and made that play special. And then the offense was good enough, and had a couple fantastic years, and then completely bottomed out. But Will Anderson, Derek Stingley, you go down that with D'Amico Ryans. That to me is the core of that team, because you got the head coach who was a DC at the 49ers, who played in Houston, who has so much energy. You have one of the best edge rushers in the NFL. You have one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL.
I think 2 of the best edge rushers, because I love Daniil Hunter as well.
Yeah.
And Jalen Petrie, I'm glad you mentioned him, because he's the guy who makes that system go. Like, he is that nickel corner who can just play anywhere across the formation, can play at the line of scrimmage, can work in the run game, can hit guys, can cover.
I should be able to. I should be picking the Houston Texans to be in the AFC Championship, but there's a reason that I struggled to even pick them to win the AFC South this year.
And that is the offensive side of the ball, right? And they did the opposite of what the Bengals did in saying, it's one guy's fault and we've just blamed him. The Texans went, right, this offensive line isn't working, so let's just get rid of all of it. And I understand Laremy Tunsil had a down year and is a penalty nightmare, but he is still a keystone left tackle who will be probably sensational at his new team, right? They are relying a lot on Nick Caley, a new staff, and it's this kind of idea of they have to be more healthy. I get that. Nico Collins, I have as a top 5 receiver in the NFL when he's healthy. And I love CJ Stroud, and Dalton Schultz is coming back. And there's so much to be positive about on that side. But just when you have 5 new starters on the offensive line, 2 of which are in Laken Tomlinson and Cam Robinson, journeyman guys who have never really been brilliant anywhere and always just been okay. If they're the 3rd and 4th best offensive lineman you've got, fine. But you don't want to build around them. A rookie at right tackle. It's just I just sit there and go, poor CJ Stroud, unless he's getting the ball out in under 2.5 seconds every single snap.
Which he doesn't really do. I mean, he's not he's not the definition of a quick snap quarterback. There's just that's an uneven offense, right?
A grip it and rip it.
A lot of potential, obviously, a lot of young talent. Obviously, the Stroud-Collins connection can be fantastic. That's a lot of change. That is a lot of change for a team that has been on the rise. There's no way around it. C.J. Stroud took a step backward last year. That is a fact. C.J. Stroud also can't figure out which baseball cap to wear. He's wearing a Mariner. Like that's one of the, having spent more than a decade in Houston and covered Houston sports, very, very, very in depth. That's one of the dumbest moves in Houston sports history. You are the new franchise quarterback. You're wearing a Mariners hat, and then you come out after your question about it, and you say, "Well, I love the Astros and the Dodgers." Like that is a political, sports, cultural, social faux pas that not even the dumbest president or politician, I mean, not specifically president, and the world would make. That makes me question everything about CJ Stroud. And I'm joking, but I am not. And I look at the Texans' offense, and it just feels iffy. The whole thing feels iffy right now. But here's the problem: the Titans are gonna bleep. The Colts are gonna bleep. Because I don't know if I can say the S word on this show. The only other team I could pick would be the Jacksonville Jaguars. And about the worst thing you can do in the NFL, if you're making predictions, is to predict the Jaguars are going to do well. Yeah. Because it's never going to work. Trevor Lawrence should be better. Liam Cohen's interesting. You have Travis Hunter. Go across the board. I've been doing this for a while now. I will never pick the Jaguars ever again. So I have to pick the Texans.
Let me pull off the bandage.
Do it.
Let me pull off the bandage. Bills, Chiefs, Ravens, Texans. I've gone completely chalk with my division winners.
I'm aware of that.
I've already said Bengals and Broncos as my other two wildcard guys. My other wildcard team I have down as the Jacksonville Jaguars. I have real, genuine belief.
I hope this is being recorded and immortalized because we will play this back in January.
And that does mean that the Harbaugh LA Chargers are missing out. That Rashawn Slater injury, I think, is so huge for what they're trying to do. And that means the Steelers are missing out. What
a shame if Justin Herbert, if he's just for that arm and that potential, and he's barely even making the playoffs. When he makes it, he can't even get out of Houston in the wild card round. That's a shame. I'm not picking him either.
See,
I think they're not good enough.
For me, it is. I like the way they're rebuilding, though. Like, I like the picks they've made this year. I like they have bookend tackles when they're healthy. I like
Jaguars.
So no, this is the Chargers.
Yeah, okay.
I really like the Hampton pick. I think
I do too.
I think they are a team who, however, are not going right. It's Super Bowl or bust this year, so let's throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. They are slowly building. I think in a year's time they could be a real AFC powerhouse. 2 years time,
if the Chiefs are going down.
But I just think that there is too much talent in their division and elsewhere this year. I think the big one for me is having the Jags over the Steelers. And I'll say that the reason with the Jags, right, and there are still some concerns. That pass defense was dreadful last year, and Travis Hunter, we've yet to see if he is someone who can play both ways, right? Like, I like the Jordan Lewis and Eric Murray signings. I think they are good, solid defensive backs, but I still think that side of the ball is the concern for me. But I really do believe that Liam Cohen, the talent they've got there, Hunter and Thomas are immediately...
Brian Thomas Jr. was fantastic. We interviewed him for talkSPORT, went out to the Jaguars practice facility when they were here for London. He was impressive in person. He was absolutely... he was the best thing about the Jacksonville Jaguars last year. Trevor Lawrence will be better. I will never believe in them again.
Liam Cohen has made...
That's a huge jump, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but that is a huge jump for the Jaguars to make, because I just having thought that they were on the rise and wanting to believe in Lawrence, they were just so abysmally disappointing last year, and really for the last couple of years. My problem is, I agree with you, they're going to be better. Are they going to make such a leap in 1 year? I just have a hard time believing that. And I feel like the Steelers and their defense will be good enough, even with constant Aaron Rodgers problems, which I'm sure we'll get into all this year. The Steelers defense can get you into the playoffs as a wild card. I have 3 teams coming out of that division.
So what really fascinates me with the Liam Cohen situation, and they've made the big splash. James Gladstone comes in, goes and gets Travis Hunter, but it is... Liam Cohen has made me believe in Baker Mayfield as an actual franchise quarterback.
That's fair.
Right? But the difference with Baker Mayfield versus Trevor Lawrence is Mayfield doesn't have the talent of Lawrence, but is a big culture guy, big rah-rah guy. Guys will run through a wall for him, everything else. We've never really seen that from Trevor Lawrence. Going back to Clemson, he's never been.
It is totally fair.
Beat his chest.
It is totally fair to question how much does Trevor Lawrence actually love it and want to do it. Not that he doesn't like it, but does he do it like his life depends on? Because he's talked about that before, and he was like, I don't really need to be that way, and I'm sorry. In the NFL, I'm not saying it's right, but it's how the world. It's how the cloth is cut. Will you got to be that way in the NFL?
So look, I don't think. I've kind of got the Jaguars kind of getting in as the 7th seed. I like who they've got in division and everything else. But for the Steelers, and I'd really like to hear your kind of thoughts on it, I don't buy into the idea that Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to run the scheme
Aaron
there.
Rodgers at all, man.
I do not buy into the idea that he's a good quarterback for the receiving talent that they've got there in terms of his ability to throw outside the numbers, his ability to throw it down the field.
Aaron Rodgers, let's just say this, like Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf seems like a really odd combination to me. If I don't do fantasy, right, because I like to keep my sanity and I can only do one job. I can only do one job at one time.
I'll get you in our talk.
No, I don't want to be a part.
It's going to happen.
I've only done fantasy once. I won and I walked off like a king, and I'll never touch it again because it would take up. We don't need to talk Premier League here. I spend all my other free time dealing with the Premier League and the English football pyramid, so I can't do.
I love NFL. You going full Jerome Bettis, just like walking off into the sunset. That's me done.
Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf. That's just if I play fantasy. That's a really, really weird combination. I mean, you mentioned. Pairing up with him, and Metcalf should have more than 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns, but they don't have the depth at wide receiver. Running back is iffy. And Aaron Rodgers, there's just no way around it. He's had 2 horrendous years. It was a little better toward the end of last year. I've just thought everything, and I said this 1,000 times on the show last year, Will. You just look at how he carries himself. Speaking of being a leader and guys wanting to run through a wall from you, we would talk to Jets players on talkSPORT and write stories at talksport.com, and they would say good things, but it never felt that way on the field. And for me, this feels like not the last stand for Aaron Rodgers. This is the last ditch for Aaron Rodgers. I don't see it going well. I think they are the last team to make the playoffs, but they're in the AFC, but they're out in the wild card. And I think he finally retires, and this is it. I don't see anything truly magical coming out of there because the defense is good enough. Aaron Rodgers is not good enough.
Yeah, I can see Pat Fryermuth and Scotty Miller having massive seasons because Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to throw beyond 5 or 6 yards at risk of giving up at risk of giving up an interception. Yeah, the offensive line in theory is better this year. I love Zach Fraser, the second-year center. I think he was brilliant last year, but you've switched Broderick Jones back to left tackle after his struggles at right tackle. It's technically his natural position, but you spent 2 years trying to force him to be a right tackle. Is that going to work? Then you bring in a right tackle who hasn't started in the league since he was drafted 2 years ago. Like, none of this kind of excites me. Everyone feels
in a division, in a good division with Joe. That's the other thing. I often look at it like, we can talk defense and offense and special teams and coaches on, but ultimately, Will, it comes down to quarterbacks. All right, let's rank the quarterbacks in that division. Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, like
we can do that.
Literally,
I'm Jackson over Burrow ever so slightly, but it is
okay. And then, so if they're here,
they're top 4 guys in the NFL.
They're here. Aaron Rodgers is here. I mean, so at 32 quarterbacks right now. What is Aaron Rodgers like? Number 28, 29? Aaron Rodgers is not a top 10 quarterback right now. He's not a top 15 quarterback right now. So I think the Steelers, because of their defense, and you obviously got it right with T.J. Watt. That's a very good defense. That could be the best defense in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers, and maybe I'll be wrong on this one, but I don't think so. Aaron Rodgers will hold back the Pittsburgh Steelers this year.
Is he better than Joe Flacco, who'll probably be starting for the Browns week 1?
No, because Joe Flacco is more efficient at his age and running the. Here's the thing. Joe Flacco still works at this time in the NFL in 2025 when we're more cutthroat and brutal than ever, and we know numbers better than ever. Joe Flacco is the beautiful, wonderful anomaly because Joe Flacco understands his limitations. He understands that he is not elite, but he is a leader. He's efficient. He still throws a good ball, and he can run the offense. Aaron Rodgers still thinks that he is Aaron Rodgers, and nobody has the guts to tell him that he's not Aaron Rodgers anymore. And that's why he's bounced from Green Bay to the Jets to the Steelers, and nobody else really wanted him this offseason. The only person who really wanted him was Mike Tomlin, which I still can't figure that out.
And my bigger concern with the Steelers, I think, because they've been a team who've been carried by the defense in recent years, is they go and make this Minka Fitzpatrick, Jalen Ramsey,
Kind of
plus
weird
Johnny
trade.
Smith weird
Yeah.
trade. You're trading one kind of Jenga piece type player for another. I would have liked to have had both those guys there. Get Derek Harmon, who people are very high on, but they are one of the most vanilla defenses in the NFL. Guys line up where they line up. They never move out. They never stunt. They never pull. They never do anything interesting whatsoever. And they've just relied on, we've got great talent. We've got great talent. But eventually, 35, 36-year-old Cam Hayward has to fall off.
Yeah.
Eventually, TJ Watt, those health concerns that have started to creep in the last couple of seasons are really going to hit him. I worry that unless they start to be more interesting on defense, that they were going to see that take a step back. And if it goes from being the 7th, 8th, 9th best defense in the NFL to 16th, then the offense can't carry them.
Yeah.
Right? That's the big difference for me. Are there any teams from outside your 7, any teams who we've not mentioned, who you do think could surprise you this season, who could come in and make a challenge in some way?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the Chargers, but I think you laid it out perfectly. I still like the Chargers have issues. We just went through the Jaguars. This is where I struggle in the NFL right now, and I talked about this a lot last year. There is a top level, and there's kind of a bit of a weird middle, and there's just a lot on the bottom. And I just feel like that's a fact. So if I look at the AFC, I don't see anybody right now on paper who's ready to make that true leap, because the quarterback talent is so high. The top teams are so high, to the point that I question if the Chiefs are going to win the AFC West, because if they fall backward, I think Denver could step forward and take that. There's no way the Chiefs don't make the playoffs on paper. I don't think anybody could make a leap from being the 12th best team in the AFC to making a run for the AFC Championship. I don't see that happening this year.
The only team for me is the New England Patriots, and I believe in Drake May more than
I don't think they have enough.
Almost
maybe
Drake May's parents, maybe more than Drake May himself. But it's one of those. I think it will take Vrabel at least a year to bed in. They did that winning the off-season thing of we've got a lot of cap space, so let's really throw at people. And they brought in Milton Williams and Stephon Diggs and Harold Landry and Robert Spillane and Carlton Davis and Morgan Moses.
It takes a lot of time to fit that all together, and it usually doesn't work.
3 or 4 of those are up starters, then suddenly they are, now they're a middle of the pack team, and they could be 8-9, 9-8, and they could push on. They are the one team who I think, if you told me at Thanksgiving, the Patriots right now are sat in the 7th
they need
seed,
to stay in it, right? They need to stay in it. That's a nice one. And could the Patriots, in my book, leap the Steelers and get the final wild card spot in the AFC if Drake May is as good as Bo Nix this year? If Drake May takes that real step and he plays all 17 games and he is their next young Tom Brady, I think that makes sense.
Right, that's our roundup of our AFC teams, but do you agree with us? Get in the comments below. I went all chalky on my picks, sorry. I promise in the NFC I get a little more interesting, so that video will be coming out for you shortly as well. I had the Bengals, Broncos, and Jags as my wildcard teams. I think we agreed on 6 out of the 7 teams, actually. You had the Steelers getting over the Jaguars.
Well, let's tell everybody to follow our new Twitter account at talkSPORT_US, everything at talksport.com. We have expanded staff. We'll be doing NFL Dublin, the Super Bowl. You've got your whole crew at the other international games. I mean, our coverage is just beginning for 2025.
And look, we're going to have over 70 regular season games this year. We're going to have live commentary in stadium from all 6 European games. We're going to be in stadium in Brazil as well. We'll be at the Super Bowl in San Francisco.
We cover at talkSPORT. This is my beginning of my third season, my 2+ years now. I think we cover the NFL better at talkSPORT, better than anyone else in the United Kingdom. And I say that very humbly, but I'm not sure that anyone does what we do. It's been so much fun to be a part of this and get this whole thing going again. I really enjoy it.
As part of that, one of the games we will be reporting on will be the NFL at Wembley in October, where the Los Angeles Rams take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. And our competition to win VIP tickets is now open. We're giving you the chance to win 6 seats in a box at Wembley, full hospitality, food, drink, the lot, plus $5,000 in spending money. So it's not like a kick in the teeth. So to enter, you've got to be 18 plus. You've got to live in the UK, not including Northern Ireland. And for a chance to win, you've got to text the word cash to 83338. Then you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus your standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission. You can enter for free by calling 0330 880-3338. All entries must be received by the 25th of August. That's a week from today as we're recording it, by 11 p.m. And yeah, I mean, it's an amazing competition. We're going to be there. We might even swing by the box. So get involved, enter, and, you know, end up having a day that's worth tens of thousands of pounds at Wembley. Sounds good to me. Check out our NFC video coming up and all our great content on the channel. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell, everything else. And yeah, hopefully you agree with us on the AFC. I've got a feeling you're not going to.